Built for More podcast, Denny Thompson, Pastor Joby Martin, Rebecca Maxwell, founder and owner of Jacksonville Counseling Services, licensed marriage and family therapist, and author of this fantastic book, Jesus and Your Mental Health. How you doing?
Doing great.
Good?
Thanks for having me.
Of course, that's the longest introduction I think I've ever given.
Ever.
Yeah.
A longtime friend of the Martins.
Yeah.
We've been buddies for 20 years-ish, something like that.
Yeah.
Long
time.
Years.
Not quite, 17.
Long time
Yeah,
when
yeah.
we were playing beach baseball.
That's right. Our boys played all-star ball together.
Mhm.
Can we get that out of the way right now? This hat is not for sale.
It might be if you go to the Jacksonville Beach Barracudas, they'll probably sell you whatever because they're raising money to go to
We
Cooperstown.
should auction
right.
off like 5 of them.
Dude. Oh, I'll tell Darby.
That's actually not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's the one consistent thing we get from all of you guys is where can I buy the hat? It's coming. I don't know when, but it's coming sometime soon. Rebecca, how you doing?
Doing
Good.
great. Glad
Great.
to be with you guys.
Good. I'm excited about this. I was telling you guys, like I have recently developed a real passion for just mental health. It's not my occupation.
Yeah.
But it's just really, really interesting. Of course, you know, and Rebecca knows my wife is working with Rebecca. She's an intern, I guess.
She's an intern, not graduated yet, but she's doing great.
Yeah, she's awesome.
She's awesome.
Superstar.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rebecca and I were talking about this the other day, just the stuff that she's overcome in the last 2 years, and she's never made a B in
Never.
college.
She's
Like
the definition of resilient.
Yeah, it actually is
She's
insane.
amazing.
I was in a room one time and Lars Peterson, somebody said that person never made a B. He goes, neither did I. But I don't think we're talking about the same thing.
So, but it's been cool as she's been going through this with you guys and through all of her studies, just for me to hear like whys. And I thought your book did an amazing job of going through this. What got you into the mental health space? Like, what made you want to get into that?
So I started my career as an adult in ministry, which I kind of fell into, I guess, by God's plan. But I spent about 15 years in ministry in the church with kids and students. And there was just a time where God was like stirring in me that there was something next. Spent a couple semesters in seminary and wasn't feeling that same draw. And a friend looked at me and said, "What do you love the most about working with students?" And I said, "I just love that one-on-one like counseling stuff, you know, where you're talking about life." And she said, "Well, maybe you should go back to school and be a counselor." So I did. And I went to do marriage and family therapy because I was working with kids. And I know that the most important thing for a kid is to have a stable home and 2 parents in it. And so I thought, well, if I can help parents stay together, not just stay together, but stay together and thrive, that's going to be the best thing for the kids. And so that's how I got there and didn't know where it would take me, but you know.
And Rebecca was
I'm
gracious enough 13 years ago to put that on pause for a minute and come and be our first kids minister here at 1122. And she built our entire kids ministry.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Because when I'm launching this thing, first of all, I was 38 years old. We were all children. I mean, you know, we were all in our 30s, it's me and my buddies. And the people other than you in kids ministry, they were like 19 years old. I mean, Dakota was maybe 20, like really. And I was like, I can't have parents drop off their little baby children to just older teenage children.
Right.
I need a grown mom to run this thing. And so she did for years. And then came to me terrified, if you're honest.
Yeah, terrified.
She was like, all right, I think I need to, you know, finish this journey and do the counseling thing. And what's hilarious to me is she was like, but I don't know, like, what if nobody comes to me for counseling? I'm like, I bet they will. So
Just a hunch.
now she can't keep up.
Yeah.
Can't keep
You
up.
could double her entire staff,
Yeah.
and just 1122 would fill it up
Yeah.
immediately every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Built for More is the name of the podcast, and I credit a huge amount of kind of my success recently to therapy. Yeah, I started going pretty regularly in 2020.
Right.
And it helped me with my walk with God as much as just about anything outside of Joby Martin.
That's great. That's good to hear.
Yeah, the Christian therapist thing is, I will not ever live without it. Like it will be
Oh,
the
I love
last
that.
dollar that I spend if it's the last dollar I have.
I think it's a lot like what you do, Denny. A lot of what A therapist that has a biblical worldview, which is very, very important, can help give people just certain tools to accomplish what they're trying to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
Like there might be quarterbacks and they've got all the raw ability, but you guys just give them certain tools and techniques in order that they can succeed at what they do.
Yeah. Yep.
And if you had a bad quarterback coach when you were a kid and he gives you bad technique, I don't care how athletic you are, you're not going to be able to overcome that. And if you grew up in an environment and you learn really bad techniques on how to deal with doubt and depression and relationship, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then all you do is you get yourself in these negative ruts and you don't know how to get you out of it.
Right.
And a lot of times somebody like Rebecca and her team can just give you a different way. The Bible would use the word to rewire the way you think about things in alignment with his word for health purposes.
What I would love to know from you, and maybe this was just my experience from it, but the thing that I credit the most about therapy is teaching me actually my value.
Yeah.
It's it's like I always seem to tie my value to accomplishments.
Right.
And the things that I would get mad at about myself were things that after going through therapy, like I realized why I was doing it.
Right.
And so I didn't really find what my value as a person, or the fact that we keep talking about one of one, everybody's one of one, until later in life until I got into therapy. Is that a pretty normal?
Absolutely. I think almost all the people that I work with in my office were dealing with identity and worth at one point or another in our work, because parents were doing the best job that they can, but sometimes somewhere along the way, we didn't pick up on what our value is in this world apart from what we do. And Christ gives us that. And so it's a good thing you're with a Christian therapist, because I'm not sure how else to teach identity, value, worth outside of the finished work of Christ. That's the most truthful thing you can build your identity on. And so, yeah, I think we can get these mindsets or core beliefs in our head that we picked up along the way about, who we are, what our value is. And at some point, if they're not healthy, they'll be a stumbling block from us carrying out what God has called us to carry out.
I couldn't even see what God had called for me.
Of course.
At all.
You're just, you were used to living out that value, those core beliefs. That was just all you knew.
Mm-hmm.
Someone else had to say, hold on a minute. I think this might be a little skewed.
Right. And I guess my point in saying that, Joby, is like my view of what therapy was and what therapy actually is were two completely different things. Like the worldview of what therapy is.
Yeah.
Of going in and laying on a couch and bawling your eyes out. And it's just so different than what actual therapy is. Is that something you still fight is it a stigma? I don't know if it's a stigma or.
I think some of that's going away.
Yeah.
I think that in movies and TV, we're starting to see more real versions of what therapy is. And the ones that aren't real are pretty exaggerated. So you kind of know. But I think I think people have a fear that they're just going to go in and cry, or someone's going to make them just roll around in their past forever. And good therapy doesn't do that. Good therapy will go to the past to figure out what's there to propel us forward. We don't want to stay in the past, but we want to go back and figure out. It's kind of like root cause medicine. Like, why is this here? Okay, now that we know why it's here, let's go forward, with it. We can do something different and we can change. Yeah, good therapy is going to be transformative.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then this book is fantastic, by the way. Awesome. Jesus and Mental Health. And I don't want to make this like a book review, but I do have some questions, if that's okay. The holistic view of human functioning, can you talk to us about that? It's the 4 aspects of self: biological, psychological, social, and spiritual.
Yeah.
Can you just kind of run through that for a second? I think that's super interesting.
Yeah. Biblically, it's heart, soul, mind, and strength.
Mm-hmm.
And so God tells us that those are the 4 parts of self. And science has really grabbed 4 parts of self that just happen to align with what the Bible says. And medicine is now recognizing how important all 4 parts of self are to human functioning. So especially if you go to a doctor of osteopathy now as your primary doctor, they're actually trained holistically to ask you questions about all aspects of yourself, because they understand that how your mind is functioning impacts your body. How your body is functioning impacts your soul and impacts your mind and impacts your relationships or your heart. And so you really can't pull one or another out, but the mind is really important because it's almost like the director. If you don't get that right, and I mean, you know this in sports, right? And I watched kids over the years, they couldn't get their mind right, and they just never seemed to like really get it together on the field. And so the mind is so important to overall health, and none of the parts of us can be separated. They all need to be functioning together.
And you separate mind and brain.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I noticed that. Can we dig into that? Let's get into a little bit of that. You call it the brain, the mind, and the whole self-integration. What in just a real quick, separate and explain the difference in the brain and the mind.
So the brain is the physical organ that sits in your skull, and the mind is, I guess I would liken it to the soul. It's like it doesn't have a physical essence, but we know it's there. Mm-hmm. And so the mind is like the seat of consciousness. So the brain is just taking in data and it's sending impulses to the rest of the body. But the mind is like the processor. It's processing all of that information, making meaning of it, right? It's the part that makes us human and not just mammals. Right, because we're taking in and processing and thinking cognitively and logically about information.
Okay.
And they interplay. The mind and the brain interplay with one another. So the brain sends the mind information, but the mind can also send the brain information, because when we think, there's actually a physical thing that happens in the brain. Neuron to neuron there's these electric impulses that fire. And I'm probably losing everybody right now, but there is a good interplay between the mind and the brain, and the mind can shape the brain and the brain can shape the mind. But the mind is the thing that we most have control over.
And the mind is referenced a ton in the Bible, right?
For sure.
A lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do not be conformed to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Which really neat. I love the way Rebecca said it. And I love it when science finally catches back up to the Bible. Mm-hmm. And so when we were all growing up, we're similar ages, we were all told, like, you're just born a certain way, right?
Yeah.
Regardless of what people are talking about. This is just the way you're born. There's nothing you can do about it. Now people are talking about neuroplasticity a lot.
Right.
That there are chemical pathways that get created in your brain like ruts on a road, and those things can be reprogrammed.
Yeah.
Well, Paul talked about it in Romans 12, 2,000 years ago. Mm-hmm. And there is a way, if you live in this world, if your mind was mostly influenced by the lies of this world, the lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes, pride of life, then it says things like, whatever you feel is the greatest truth in your life. And that stuff out there can fulfill you if you'll just buy it. And as long as you can be the greatest version of you, then you'll be fully and finally satisfied. These things are untrue. They have been found to be proven. They are untrue. And that's because you have been conformed to the pattern of this world. And then the Bible is like, but there's another way. You can renew your mind. And scientists today would call that neuroplasticity. And folks can help you rethink the way you think about thinking.
Right.
Well, I listen to Andrew Huberman a lot.
Love him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a Bible reading, praying brother.
Recent.
Correct.
Like fairly recent. Yeah, I would.
Correct.
He is on my top 3 list of wanting to get on this podcast.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, Andrew Huberman is at Stanford, right? Mm-hmm. Stanford research on neuroplasticity mainly, right? And the work that he's been putting out has been...
It's amazing.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it's a 3-hour podcast, and it's very boring, monotone type of thing, but he talks a lot about that. And he talks a lot about... Because originally... I don't want to put words in his mouth, but it was like, hey, I started praying recently.
Uh-huh. That's it. I
read
his Bible every day.
Right.
Go to church.
Because the research he was reading says that actually benefits your brain and your mind for you to pray, gratitude, journaling, like all the things that we do as spiritual disciplines, because the Bible tells us to do them. Research is now saying, oh yeah, this is a good thing, and we have data to prove it.
Yeah, like one day off a week. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like scientists is
The
finally
Sabbath.
catching up with the Sabbath.
Right.
And these things are, yeah.
Yeah.
Talk about, because I thought this was interesting. You said AA is based on the 12 steps, which correlate directly with biblical principles.
Yeah.
And we've largely heard that AA is one of the most successful,
Yeah.
programs. Is that what you would call it? I don't know, that exist and is
Yeah.
kind of tried and true, right?
Yeah.
Talk about that as it pertains to somebody who's maybe not an alcoholic or anything like that, but just the process of that and what that looks like for a Christian man or woman trying to get their mental health straight.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm not an expert in this area, so I'm not going to give you a full, complete answer, but some of the concepts in the 12 steps have to do with forgiveness, righting your wrongs. Well, the very first one is recognizing that you're powerless over this substance and that there is a higher power that can restore you to sanity, right? We know who that higher power is. And so then you go through these 12 steps to take a moral inventory, to like really look at all of the things that you've done, behaviors as a result of these addictions. And then you go step by step to beginning to make amends and take accountability for what you've done. And at the tail end of this, you are then passing it on to the next person, which is kind of like evangelism, right? Mm. Like you're going through all of these steps, and then you're turning around to your brother, and it's all in the context of community, which to me is the most powerful part of AA. Mm-hmm. Is that you're not just doing this alone, but you're with a sponsor, and you sit sometimes daily with a group of people who are all walking the same road. And that's what we see in the scripture, is that we're made to be in community, and we can't do this thing without our community.
Joby, you talk all the time about when you used to do a lot of marriage counseling, and it was like, if you're not Christian, I don't really know what to tell you.
Correct. Good luck.
Yeah, is that a little bit like, the same thing here? It's like, because I know there's not biblical counselors, right? Like you guys are Bible-based counselors.
We are.
But not everybody is.
Not everybody is.
How does that work? How can that work?
I don't think it's as impactful personally. I think that at the very minimum, we as counselors are supposed to ethically bring in a person's faith system, the spiritual aspect of self. But I would say over the years, that part has been pulled out in the bigger mental health community as not an important part, or we don't want to talk about it because it's a taboo topic. And so at minimum, with all of my clients, I'm talking about their spiritual life and do they have a faith? Not all my clients are Christian, but I am still going to incorporate that into our work. And we just happen to know the one true God. And so that's actually the most powerful thing. I truly believe that the work that we do is God is working through us to heal people and to help them to recover, whether it's instantaneously or over time in the process of transformation and sanctification. So I happen to think I corner the market on the real power.
Dude, if you fundamentally believe that you're nothing but an accident and purposeless,
yeah.
And a part of what you're doing with somebody is digging down to the deep roots of who you are, and you're saying they're not rooted to anything, it's gonna get real wonky there. Well, so then it's gonna have to stop in like tips and tricks or some kind of like evolutionary narrative that was told that is purposeless,
Yeah, or who do you want to be?
Right. Yeah.
Who do you feel like? What do you feel like today?
Yeah, and then so the difference between like AA and this like kind of secular therapy would be that the source is either you or the creator.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so a big part of what AA does is first and foremost, it says, I ain't got this.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. And the ultimate source of a secular therapy is I am the center of the universe.
Right.
for a little while, and then I'm nothing again. I mean, it really falls apart quick.
Well, because if we started this conversation, and maybe I'm oversimplifying it, with that the thing that therapy did for me was make me recognize my identity and that I'm one of one. If I take the Christian aspect out of that, how do I get there?
I don't personally know.
Right.
I don't have anything else to get somebody there than that.
Right.
Truly.
What it comes down to is it's a roll of the dice, and hopefully your neurons light up the right way. It's kind of back to my marriage counseling if somebody wasn't a Christian. I'm not saying you can't have a great marriage if you're not Christians, but it's kind of a crapshoot, and hopefully you just got lucky and you married the personality types where it lines up real good, and you guys can figure it out. And you make enough money to not be too stressed and nobody gets sick. And then you'll probably be all right. You know what I mean?
And I'm genuinely confused about that with this, because if my identity is not in Christ, then that means my identity has to be in myself,
right,
or my actions, right, or whether or not I'm loved by my wife or my parents, or
real shaky.
It gets circumstantial real fast.
Yeah.
I can't even reconcile that in my head about how you tell somebody to move forward without the Christ piece.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I really don't know either.
Okay.
And I have gotten stuck before because maybe I've made a suggestion about the Christ piece and maybe it's been rejected or somebody's not ready. And sometimes there's nowhere for us to go when it comes to identity and what you build your life on and who am I and where does my worth come from. And gosh, it just makes me sad thinking about it because you are very circumstantial. You're waiting for, your husband to get it right and to actually love you, or you're waiting for your parents to apologize, or you're waiting for someone else to do something to make you whole. Or
for you to do something.
Oh, right. For
right,
you
which
to
is
get it
even
right.
maybe even worse,
Yeah.
right? Like for me to go make this much money, or for me to do something meaningful.
Right.
And then when that happens, what do you have?
Right.
I mean, that's a day.
And
Right.
Totally.
Coming for everybody.
And to your point about the 12 steps, like there are some resources coming out now about the 12 steps for everyone. There's one book called The Fix, Ian Morgan Cron, and it's not explicitly Christian, although there are a lot of Christian principles in it because of AA. But it's really fascinating to see that the 12 steps can apply to all of us because we all have some sort of hang up or hurt or addiction. I mean, the idea is like we're all kind of addicted to something.
Yeah.
We're all numbing somewhere that we shouldn't be instead of going to the Lord.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. The next note I had is on peace, joy, and transformation, and it's the same thing, right? Like if you don't believe in the Bible, then what is that? What does that look like? How do you realize joy if it's completely performance based?
Well, that's not joy. There's a difference between joy and happiness is rooted in happenings, and joy is
Okay.
rooted in Jesus. And
Yep.
so, again, the most freeing thing, one of the most freeing things, other than like you get to go to heaven, your sins are forgiven, but when you have that Copernicus moment, Copernicus was the guy that was the first one publicly to be like, you know what, we're not the center of the universe. We revolve around the sun. It does not revolve around us. And they're like, heretic. But when you individually have that moment and you realize the whole universe does not revolve around you, you're actually free.
Yeah.
Because you know how much pressure that is on you if the whole universe, you got to catch green lights every time.
Mm-hmm.
Your wife's got to be in a good mood every day. The stock market's got to go up.
Yep.
The dog's got to win the championship. The Jags got to win the Super Bowl. Like it is.
Yeah.
And then what begins to happen is when you live that sort of kind of narcissistic life, you just ruin everybody, man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because they can't handle the pressure because they weren't built for it because they're not the savior.
Mm.
And when your life is dependent on how, because here's what happens, man. We take the keys to our happiness and we hand them out to everybody else.
Yep.
And we're like, all right, wife, when you treat me right, and boss, when you give me that raise, and when you realize how significant I am, and when you like my post, and when all of you get it right, then I'll be fully and finally satisfied. And then you get 5 out of 6, and that's still not that great.
Hanging on to the one.
Bro, right.
Yep.
And so the amount of freedom when you're like, it's no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me, which means I'm a part of his story, not the other way around. There's free. And then you can because we talk to athletes all the time.
Right.
This is kind of what I'm saying all the time. I was like, when you actually believe that, then guess what? Like, Can you imagine walking out on the field knowing that you already have the approval of the Father? Therefore, swing for the fences, bro.
You can have some fun.
You can have fun and enjoy it. And of course, you get mad when you lose and whatever,
sure.
and celebrate when you win. But it doesn't define you. But if that is what defines you, I mean, that's that really famous Tom Brady interview when he had 6 Super Bowls at that point, and he goes, "Is this it?
Yeah.
Is this it?"
Yep.
And he torched his life.
Yeah.
You know, externally things are still going good, but I don't care how good it is. If it ain't good at home, it ain't that good.
Is this the part that we talk all the time about parents and kids and sports?
Yeah.
Right? This is a big part, right? Like of parents finding their happiness in their kids being good at baseball or football and forget the joy of being a dad.
Yeah.
Is that a big part of that?
I think so. I think so. I think, you know, you're starting your kids at like 2 and 3 years old in a sport, and if they're in Florida, at least they're playing it year round, and you're also getting them coaching. And I don't know, it's a lot of pressure for a kid. To me, I'm not the expert on this, but I don't think it's a good idea to have your kid in one sport from the time that they're 5 years old and pouring everything into it. I don't think that's fun at all.
I do it for a living, and I could not agree with you more.
They're going to totally burn out. And they're, you know, and there's a lot of pressure on parents all around. I mean, there's a lot of pressure for college, like the test scores going up, and it's like our culture says, if you want to be a good parent, you got to do all these things. They have to be the best athlete and the best student and the best this and the best that. And it's a lot of pressure, and it's crushing.
I think in parents, I would consider myself close to an expert on this. Like, I've been doing this a long time as far as the parents' expectations on their kids. The majority of them think they're doing the right thing. They think by pushing them, my kid wants to be great at football, my kid wants to be great at baseball, this is what it takes, and this is, you know, I'm doing the right thing by my kid. When you take the time to rephrase that and go, all right, let's explain what performance actually is from the kid's eyes and where it needs to fit, I think it does change the parent's outlook, right? When because I've had this happen recently where it's like, yo, dad, hold on now. Your kid's getting the sense of like the only way you're going to do anything with him or for him is if he's successful at this very hard thing at a very high level. Mm-hmm. Is that what you're going for? And when you put it that way, I think it does break them down a little bit and go, that's where it's gotten to.
I think so. And I get it. I mean, I have 2 college-age boys, and so I remember feeling, you know, really into, you know, their success, and not just success, but actually them being like happy in what they were doing and enjoying it. And when they weren't, which is a normal part of the process, like, you know, it hurts your mama heart, and you just want to do everything you can and hire all the people to make it better. Mm-hmm. And so I think a lot of this is managing our own emotions and our own maybe codependency, being dependent on our children to be happy so that we can be happy. You know, there's a lot of growth you do as parents, especially watching your kids play sports, because you do just want to step in and fix it.
And her youngest son is a Division I college athlete.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we were just talking about that when we got in. Yeah.
And when did he start running track and being a decathlete?
He only
his senior year?
Yeah, he only ran track his last couple years to get ready for football. And he was going to go play football, and then, you know, an Olympian kind of gave him a nod and said, "Hey, you look like a decathlete." And he, you know, changed course.
The Olympian was like a silver medalist decathlete, though. Right. Yeah. Like, I mean, one of the best athletes in the world. Yes. So to be fair, like, I would have listened to him too.
But Colin played all the sports and then goes to college, not even in the sports that he played. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, our boys played all the things together.
Yeah.
And that was fun. I can remember one time they were in a flag football league, and Colin was receiver and JP was a quarterback. They set the I-9 touchdown record that year. And we were in Israel. We weren't even there.
Yeah.
And they won the championship without us.
Mm-hmm.
I think they had more fun without us there because there was no they just said, we call the plays.
Yeah, it was like a kid coach.
They just did it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, they would work hard. It was great. It was kind of like what Herb Sheet was talking about on the first one, because we're neighbors. We're 4 houses apart. And we live in a cul-de-sac, so no cars come down our road. And they would get out in the yard and they would work on routes. And bro, they're like 12 years old, 10 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, they started when
That's
they were maybe
fun.
like 6. And they played together, those two, and a couple other ones played together. But I mean, they called audibles, and JP would put them in motion to see if they were in man or zone, and nobody could keep up with Colin. I mean,
Awesome.
Nobody could. And so if we were in man and we just kill this slant.
Yeah.
And then the slant and go, bro. And it was, and they would just make the call, and they just had fun. And flag football, it like kind of didn't matter, It's flag football. It's not like school ball.
Yep.
And it was some of the most fun they ever had. And then it was
fun.
cool too, because in high school they played against each other. Because JP went to Providence and Colin went to Wolfson. But even then, after the games, they would still meet each other on the field. And I mean, they hung out last night.
Yeah.
They're still
Yeah.
those memories that they created together.
Oh, do you remember the movie Varsity Blues?
Oh, yeah.
Same thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
Don't show your kids
No.
this, parents, if you're listening.
Not endorsing it.
No, not. But that's what it made me think of.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a line in your book, and it says, a healthy mind also involves a desire for the transformation or sanctification that God has promised us.
Yeah.
That line kind of hit me there. The desire piece of that, for the transformation, is kind of the place I'm in right now, right?
Yeah.
And what gets, and this is a question for both of you, what gets somebody to have that desire? Is it just one piece? Is it like a diet? Is it like I can feel something and so now I want to go further? You know what I mean? Like, what starts that desire?
Well, I think sometimes it starts from a tough place where you reach the end of yourself and you're like, something needs to change. And so that can start a desire. And then I think for some people, there's just a hunger to learn and to grow. And I don't know if that was, for some of us placed here by our parents, or just the more we read in God's word, the more we have a desire for what it lays out for us.
Yeah.
But I think for a lot of people, it starts from a tough place.
Because that's the question, right? Like, is how do you get people to desire this relationship with God and make them understand that there is a transformation and there is a process of sanctification, but it first has to start with that, right? That's kind of what you preach from, isn't it? A little bit is.
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah.
That's what's crazy about this thing, that salvation is the Lord's. So one of the most famous stories that Jesus ever tells is in Luke 15, the parable of the prodigal son. The kid goes to his dad, says, "You're dead to me, give me the stuff." And he squanders his life away on reckless living. And he finds himself feeding pigs, which would be the lowest of lows for a Jewish boy. And then there's this line in there, because he's feeding his pigs and he's like, "Oh, man, my life sucks. And I have gotten into the end of the road that I traveled." Because we think life is a snapshot. It's not, it's a journey. And our series of decisions have a destination, and your intentions have no impact on it. And so this is where this kid is. And then the Bible says, and he comes to his senses. And so for all of us, it's different. When you come to your senses and think, this ain't it, I got to do something different. Like when you get sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yeah.
Some people don't make changes because they don't want to give up the excuse.
Oh.
Like they're never going to forgive their abuser because it's their excuse for the bad behavior, or they're not going to quit drinking because it's like the only thing they know, or whatever it is. And so it's not until you get to the place where you take extreme ownership and say, I got to do something different. And that's the beginning. And then he comes home. And in the story Jesus tells, did you know it was actually a first century story that was common? But in this honor shame culture, in the original first century story, when the kid comes home, the elders stone him at the gate and everybody cheers.
That's unfortunate.
Right. So Jesus says it's like Tarantino move. This is why the dad runs to the kid, because he's got to get grace before the judgment hits. And then they're like, wait, what? He did what? He put shoes on his feet, gave him a ring, put a robe on him, and threw him a party? That's not how it works. And Jesus is like, right, we're in the era of grace. And we are all that kid, and we need grace. But it's not until you get to that moment where you come to your senses.
You go on to say in this, in other words, sanctification is a gift of God to us, helping us become more like Him. It means we gradually turn away from sin and increasingly live in a way that pleases Him. A healthy mind is one set on allowing God to grow and transform. We had a question in our Q&A session about someone being in that sin, repent, repeat process.
Yeah.
And as we're talking about sanctification, I think the probably the frustration is, it's got to be for you two especially, is if there's 100 people listening to this, 50 people know what we're talking about, and 50 people have not experienced this yet.
Yeah.
And I literally, like, my heart breaks for those 50 that hasn't experienced this yet, right? So because I don't, like you said, you can't do it. It's in time, right? Like, but I do firmly believe that if I didn't have you, Joby, and if I didn't have my counselor, I would have never found this. I think you have to search for this a little bit, don't you? And I understand that it can be, like, it was a low point in my life, and it can be a low point, but
Right.
I also think that we can, in some level, avoid some of the pain that people have to endure to get there.
For sure.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
That's where God uses people like me and Rebecca. Like, I've said this all the time. I wish I could make people love what I love.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's silly. Like, Gretchen doesn't like sweet tea, and I don't understand why. Some things, silly things like that. But when it comes to a relationship with the Lord, gosh, I wish I could make people love what I love. And you can't. But what you can do, though, is clearly describe and explain and point people
Right.
to who God, through his son Jesus Christ, actually is. Because one of the things I found is that people have rejected a caricature of God that's not even the God of the Bible,
Yep.
And so a big part of what we do is try to help, with the help of the scriptures, give a clear picture of who God actually is, and that he actually wants what's best for you. Like, to know him and to follow him is abundant life. It's better. I promise it's better. It's better than money. It's better than sex. It's better than drugs. It's better than shame. He's not just waiting to, like, take all the fun stuff,
Right.
and then just load you down with burden. It's actually the opposite. He takes your sin. He takes your shame. He takes your condemnation. He takes your guilt. He takes your loneliness. He takes these things,
Right.
and you get family, and you get purpose, and you get forgiveness, and you get freedom.
You get wisdom.
And you get wisdom.
Yeah.
And so oftentimes our job is to help articulate things that people haven't seen before.
Mm.
Yeah.
And then a friend of mine, Matt Chandler, says it this way, particularly in raising kids. He's like, okay, the way you got to think about this is, I can't light the fire in my kid's life, but I can put a lot of kindling around it. So when the Spirit of God just moves a little bit, the tiniest little spark,
Yeah, that makes sense.
and so that's a big part of what we're trying to do and help people walk with the Lord.
Yeah. It's got to be a frustration, though. Like, somebody comes and sees you and they just can't get that peace.
It is. It's so hard. And because I'm a licensed clinician, I do have to be cautious, that I'm not proselytizing, in my office. Now, people know exactly where I stand when they come in. It's very clear on my website and whatnot. But I can only go so far in inviting that conversation. But I so just want to, open the Bible with them and go Romans Road and just help them see, what Christ has done for them. But ultimately, I also have to remember that it's not me that opens their eyes.
Yeah, and Rebecca's playing the long game.
Yeah.
I mean, the healthier a person is, heart, soul, mind, and strength, the more likely they are to see the one true God for who he really is.
Yeah.
You can't disconnect those things.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
In fact, you might not have ears to hear if you're in an abusive relationship and you're codependent, and every day that's all you can think about. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So a lot of what she's doing with her non-believing people is just pre-evangelism.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And then
There's
all show up here.
Well, there's a part of your book where you talk about taproots.
Yeah.
Right. And what's interesting is sports, whether you're throwing, kicking, playing golf, whatever it is, like, if your lower body is not rooted, if you're not in the ground, it doesn't really matter what your upper body's doing. In fact, it makes your upper body weaker, and it exposes more weaknesses, right?
Yeah.
So if I see a quarterback that the ball's falling out of the air or something, it's like, it has nothing to do with his arm. It has everything to do with his lower body. But because he's not set and rooted, his flaws are bigger.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so when I read this taproot, and I'm going to let you kind of explain this, that's the first place I went. It's like, if you don't have that piece of this, the rest really doesn't matter, does it?
Yeah.
And can you kind of explain the taproot?
Yeah, the taproot is the thing that grows from a seed. The seed first grows down. And so before you ever see anything above the earth, it grows down. And there are some real, I can't even remember what I put in the book, but like the largest, longest taproot is really, really deep.
400 feet.
400 feet down.
Yep.
Right? So this concept that we have to be rooted down deep in who we are in Christ if our tree, or who we are, heart, soul, mind, and strength, is going to be strong and stable and grounded and willing, able to withstand suffering and trauma, which is going to happen in this world.
Yep.
And so I think it's just such a great picture of health, that you would have a healthy taproot. And how do you get a healthy taproot? Well, we have the word, thankfully. And we put on the mind of Christ, and we think like he thinks, and we memorize scripture. That gets us a deeper and deeper taproot. And our taproot continues to grow over time, right? Like even from 13 years ago when we started this, I was looking back at some of my notes the other day, and I thought, gosh, I have really grown just even since the church launched 13 years ago. And I thought back then, like, oh yeah, I'm a Christian. I'm all in.
You're a professional.
Professional Christian. But, thankfully God gives us the ability to continue to grow that taproot down deep.
Yeah, what you're talking about. I mean, Jesus talks about it specifically in the parable of the sower. He's
Yeah.
like, the farmer goes out, throws the seed. There's a bunch of different kinds, and one of them doesn't take root. It's in the rocks. And the first scorching day, it wilts.
Yep.
So this is the person that shows up to 11:22, and the song's awesome,
Yeah.
and they get all emotional in the sermon, and they're like, okay, I'm in. But they don't root themselves in the Word of God. They don't root themselves in community. They just had this feeling, man. And it was a legit feeling, and feelings matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then the moment the heat is turned up, they just wilt.
Yeah.
Because they're not being fed. They just had a feeling.
Yeah, it's if you're not deeply rooted, then the first little wind that comes around,
Correct.
topple, right? I mean, that's just the way this thing is. I tell our guys all the time, like palm trees, like a deeply rooted palm tree, that thing will bend all the way back and forth, but it won't fall down, right? And then you see these palm trees that these dudes roll through the neighborhood selling you for $100. You get one good wind and that thing just topples, right? And I think that's a great analogy for like me personally and what you just said is so true, is I would get motivated to do things for a day or two, but I wasn't rooted in anything. Yeah. It was just strictly motivation. It was like, well, Joby said I should do this, so let me try this. And then Tuesday, I'm like, Joby don't have a clue what he's saying.
And you know what? Getting rooted, oftentimes that's very true. But getting rooted in your faith, man, honestly, it's a lot like working out or exercising.
Right.
There's no singular workout that changed everything.
Yep.
It's just small deposits over a long period of time have a cumulative effect, you know?
Yep.
And because in a previous podcast, Allie was asking me about, what how I've grown in my faith this year. I'm like, dude, I don't do anything different. And, I've been doing this a long time.
Yeah.
And I'm in the Word. I'm plugged into our church. I've got accountability and brotherhood in my life. The same things I tell everybody else to do. I don't have like some little secret preacher code back here, and it's just those little things, and you're just consistent in those things, and you grow and you grow and you grow. So I often hear people be like, well, I can't go to Bible study because I don't know the Bible. I'm like, you dummy. That's like saying I can't go to the gym because I'm not in shape. That's the point. You just got to start. Whatever it is, like just a verse a day. That's cool. It's better than no verses a day, or whatever it is. You just got to start. Just got to move forward,
Well, I think it's just like anything else, right? Like, I'm sure there's things that I was teaching in my job. I'll take this podcast. I don't want to go back and listen to our early shows because I feel like I'm a completely different person. You know what I mean?
You are growing in front of this audience.
Right. But even like my day job, there's things that I talked 2, 3, not that long ago that were just wrong. Yeah. At the time, I thought they were right. The time, like I heard somebody else say it,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it was like, oh, well, they seem to have success, so I'm just going to say it.
Yeah.
it's just maturity. It's
I
just
cringe
lessons.
at early sermons. That's the biggest thing. It's just maturity. Like
Yeah.
I'm such a sucker for a response. And boy, you feel exposed up there sometimes.
I bet.
Especially if it's quiet for a long time.
Yeah.
And so I would either go for something really punchy or just try to be funny. And you could just, my insecurity is just on utter display. And I know, because I know what I'm thinking. I know me.
Yeah.
And it's hard to watch.
Yeah.
You know? And here's the funny thing. 5 years from now, I think I'm crushing it right now. And 5 years from now, I'm going to be saying the same
But
thing.
don't you
about
hope
me
so?
Right now. Yeah, I hope so.
If you're not, you're doing something wrong, right?
Yeah, the biggest lie ever. I think I heard Pastor Adam Flint say this. When people would sign your yearbook and they say, don't ever change. That's the worst thing you could ever do. Please change. Please continue to grow and mature and be better. Do better.
Yeah, I think that's everybody, right? Everybody's
Me too.
job. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, doing this, I've had my practice now for 10 years. And I know that there were things that I especially said to couples, publicly apologizing couples, for the way I tried to do couples therapy 10 years ago. I know it wasn't that good. I've learned so much. And I'm thankful to God that we do get to continue to learn and grow and change. Like, I have that desire to grow and change because I want to be used in whatever way He wants to use me. And, you know, I tell people in my office all the time, like, I'm not just here for you to talk and just to listen to you and I swipe your card and that's it. Like, this is a transformation process. Like, we're gonna go somewhere. Like, and I'm an Enneagram 3 and I want to be successful.
Yeah.
So we're gonna grow and change, you know, and I'm probably gonna grow and change along with my clients sometimes because we're all humans having a human experience. And I think that's what it's all about.
Being a marriage counselor has got to be just so fulfilling, though, because just
so hard and so fulfilling.
Yeah. But I mean, if you save one marriage,
Yeah.
right, and I'm sure you've been doing this long enough now that you've got the clients now where they walked in and that thing was busted.
Yeah.
Like on the surface, it looked like there was no way this thing was going to continue.
Yeah.
And I've often thought like one of the most rewarding jobs has got to be 10 years later, seeing those people not only together, but I would imagine that there's a lot of people in the church that are now teaching marriage classes who have been through that situation, largely because of both of y'all's counseling and what they've heard. It's got to be so rewarding.
Just for the record, I don't do counseling.
Well, you do. You do.
Right, I preach.
You do.
Dude, it really pays off a generation later.
Yeah.
I mean, man, so I coached at Providence. And one of my safeties, we ran like mostly a 2-high shell, and so it was JP and Ben Smith, and usually Ben would walk it down and JP would play free. Years before that, I don't know, I'll mess up the details, but years before that, 6, 7 years or something like that, his parents are getting a divorce. And they both, 1122 is so big, we got so many services, they both start attending church and they don't know that they're both coming here.
Oh, wow.
And they are both beginning to notice that the other one, because, you know, like in the kid drop off and all of this, they're like, well, God, he used to be rude. And man, she used to, you know, she gave me a compliment, that kind of thing. One day, one of them goes to a different service and they look up and the other one's at the altar. They're both at the altar. At the end of the service, they're down there praying. And they're like, what are you doing at my church? They're like, this is my church. How have you been going here? What? And they reconnect and they renew their vows and get married. Wow. They remarry each other. God, this will choke me up. After one of the ball games, I can't remember. I know I bring it up all the time. I think when we beat UC, and
seems personal. You bring it up so much.
Well,
I went to UC.
It only happened once in 20 years or whatever. Ben Smith, who now, by the way, is an intern here at 1122 and feels called to go into ministry. He walks up to me and said, if you hadn't shared the gospel with my parents, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're both in the stands and they're cheering on Ben and Ben's doing awesome. And, you know?
Yeah.
And today, like now, my kid is in a Bible study with a bunch of boys that he graduated high school with, that kind of crew that he played ball with. And you know, Ben Smith's in that crew.
Yeah.
And so when you
that's why I do. That's why I do.
Even if you
counseling.
save a marriage, you still don't realize what hangs in the balance, bro.
Yeah.
What I'm telling you is the grandkids are going to be different.
Yeah.
They're just going to be different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When when a husband and wife can put Jesus in the middle and act like it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's going to be forgiveness. There's going to be reconciliation. Like peace is in that house.
Yeah.
And then that kid grows up into an adult. And instead of, being raised by two parents that hate each other and all that kind of stuff, it's just different. And then they're a different spouse, that kid. And then the grandkids get raised in a different environment. I mean, Rebecca is, even though, she's got like an office and she's got credentials and she's got all this stuff. But primarily, she is in a supernatural battle, a warfare for human souls.
Mm-hmm.
And generations are at stake. And she goes to war every day.
Yeah.
And that's what she's doing.
Well, I've said it on here. I am that person. Like I am that person whose marriage was dead. And I think about it all the time. I think about it all. I'm like, because takes me to a place of gratitude to think, man, what if we would have walked away?
Yeah.
And I don't think about it from I'm just so thankful we didn't.
Yeah, do you think Dallas would be working here? And Dallas, Dallas is engaged, his son?
Yeah.
All that's different. Because bro, so he saw you suck and he saw you repent.
Yeah.
And he's seen you pursue Jesus and your wife.
Yeah.
He's going to be a better husband and dad because you walk with the Lord.
And I'm being completely greedy in the statement. I'm just talking about my joy and my happiness. I wasn't even talking about Dallas or Walker. I do. I look at Angie all the time and I just sit there and think, we live in a country where 90% of the people, if they'd have gone through what we went through, would have walked away.
Yeah.
And the joy that we have now is just, it's like, I don't know how to properly even talk about it.
Yeah.
And
so many people need to hear it because so many people are in what feels like a hopeless situation in their marriage. And it is super rewarding to see the change that can happen when two people submit themselves to the Lord. They put everything on the table. They actually repent and they, move forward with, the tools for repair and learn how to have a different kind of relationship. And it's super rewarding. And it doesn't always work. At least in my power, it doesn't always work.
Right.
But it sure is rewarding when it does. And I've had people get remarried that I've worked with. And that's pretty amazing, especially because it's the whole reason I felt like God was calling me into this was I had somebody early in my training, a trainer said that the couple is the root unit of our society. When the couple falls apart, the society falls apart. And boy, aren't we seeing that, And so I do feel like every day, and there aren't enough couples therapists, honestly. Yeah. There are any couples therapists out there that need a job, you need to call me. Because there's a huge need for couples therapy and people don't want to do it because it's really, really hard to do. Mm-hmm. It is exponentially harder to have two people in the room than one.
Yeah, yeah.
It's very difficult.
Yeah.
But
and
so
our whole
important.
culture's working against you now because it's so individualistic, right?
Oh,
If you're not happy, then you deserve to be happy, so you better bounce.
Right.
And a part of what Rebecca said is, and give them tools. I can preach a sermon. The Spirit can convict them. They can have all the right intentions. But if you go home and just keep doing the same things, because that's all you know how to do, then you're just going to keep getting the same results. One of the mistakes I think that the church has made for a long time, and especially people in my position, is ego got in the way, and the pastor thought he was the end-all, be-all.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need a therapist. All you need is the Word of God and faith. Okay, that's adorable.
Right.
I hope you wouldn't tell. Well, there are some denominations that would even say that about a doctor. Like, we're just going to pray this away.
Sure.
Well, what about God? Every good and perfect gift has come from above.
Right.
So God gave us casts to heal broken arms. Well, God gave us therapists to help heal broken hearts and minds and all these things. You know what I mean? So we, at 1122, it helps too that, our families are like the best of friends. You know, like I said, we're neighbors. Sean and I, her husband and I work together. We've worked together. We couldn't be closer. Raised our boys together, boys and girls together, all the things. So it helped me have insight as to we could be more helpful to the folks here at 1122 and in our community is if you know what your role is.
Mm-hmm.
And a big part of my job is like the ministry of referral. Some people need a hug and a friend.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
You don't. Some people need a kick in the butt and be like, dude, don't be dumb. And then some people are so far beyond like a sermon. You know, a sermon's like top of the funnel.
Mm-hmm.
And be like, no, man, you need a specialist. You know, like a lot of medicine. You know, there's some people that come to rehab with you and you're like, actually, you just need to stretch a little more.
Right.
And then some people need like a very specific set of rehabs. You know, it's very similar in the human condition.
That makes sense.
So it's good when you got friends like this because then you partner together. And then also part of what we try to do here, we did a whole series called It Doesn't Make Sense, and it was all about mental health. And we put Rebecca and a few other mental health counselors and therapists on stage and interviewed them. And then I've done 2 sermons now called Jesus and Your Mental Health. One time I called it because she was talking about this book and she wouldn't do it. And so I did it from stage to put her on the spot. Straight up. Straight. That's what friends do.
Yeah.
And then when the book came out, we did it again. And I kind of teed it up theologically. And then I wanted her clinically to talk specifically about depression, suicide, and suicide ideation.
Yep.
This was when Elijah was thinking, it's kill me, God.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know theologically how to talk about that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But I needed an expert to get up there.
It was excellent. I remember it. Yeah.
Big part of what I'm trying to do here too is to take this out of the shadows, especially for like all the good old boys that grew up like we grew up.
Yeah.
And be like, all right, if you're going to follow after Jesus, this is a part of what he may be calling you to be a part of.
Yep. I had forgotten about that sermon actually until you just mentioned it. And if we can put like in the show notes a copy of that sermon like at the bottom of the description, let's do that because I thought that was fantastic. Yeah. It was
What's also great about that book, it's so smart. Oh, the best title in the world, right?
Yep.
And I probably got 24 copies in my office. So I got them in my office, I got them in the lobby, and we sell them in the resource center. And the reason why is people will be like, I'm really struggling with depression. And I'm like, get the book. And I'm just like, there's a chapter on depression. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's this incredible resource. This isn't just a book that you read from beginning to end and be like, oh, those are good ideas. It's also a resource to hang on to, not just for you, but for other people.
Yep.
And then you just skip to the chapter you need to dive in on.
I don't know that I've read a book that had me going back and referencing my Bible more.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Yeah.
Because, one of my editors thought I had too many Bible references in there.
Mm-mm.
And what's so funny is so many people have said exactly what you said, which is thank you for putting so many references because it got me like looking in the Word for the things that you were talking about.
Which
is
editors are a curse and a blessing.
I'll give you an example. Like I thought the way you worked in Ecclesiastes, like was it 3? What did you mention?
3, probably
3, 4.
Very beginning.
Yeah, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance. And that the 3, 1 through 8 just goes through, all the emotions that you can feel. And I don't know that I ever read it as like, wait, the Bible has told me I'm going to feel all this stuff.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with me. This is part of experiencing life.
Yeah.
And none of these things should send me over the edge.
Right.
Right? Because the Bible it's supposed to happen this way.
And my experience has been, when I do funerals, that's one of the texts I go to all the time. And I don't know who made up the phrase where you just got to be strong, and be strong somehow equaled withholding emotion. That's so, it's just dumb. Jesus, most powerful and all-knowing, and he cries at his friend's funeral, Lazarus. Okay.
Right.
And he's strong. If you don't allow yourself time to weep, when it's time to dance, you won't be able to dance either.
Yeah.
Yep. You got to feel the range of emotion for sure.
Correct.
Yeah.
And the Bible gives us great insight and wisdom on how to manage those, right? Because you can't just run around with your emotions all out all over the place all the time. Like, you have to learn how to balance those with your thinking mind, your logic.
Yeah. I want to go into that. That's where I was going with that. Yeah. I want to go all the way into that.
You're a good gauge and a terrible guide.
Yeah.
Well, the emotional maturity piece, if I just like really look down into what changed is I just became a little bit more mature emotionally.
Yeah.
was so immature emotion.
Yeah, and that doesn't just happen, by the way. We don't just emotionally mature. Like it takes some work.
Mhm.
It takes some work to understand, to rightly understand through Scripture what emotion is, and then learn how to manage it in a way that's healthy for us and everyone around us.
Can we what would you define like emotional maturity as? Like is that a fair question to ask you?
Yes, I
Okay.
think that, a couple things off the top of my head are being able to feel the full range of emotion, to feel them, but to not let them guide you, let them just be, and then decide what you want to do as a result of feeling those emotions, right? So you need wisdom and logic to know what to do with those. When I feel anxious inside, I need some wisdom and maturity to know, okay, what do I do about this? Is this, Lord, first I need to go to the Lord. Lord, why am I experiencing this? And what do you want me to do with it? And instead of just running around anxious, trying to take care of everything and maybe overfunctioning, people with anxiety can overfunction. So that's just one example, but I would say like being able to feel the full range of emotion, but doing it in a way that is healthy, that doesn't impose on other people.
Mhm.
And I shouldn't say impose on other people because other people want to experience those with us.
Right.
But that can get out of balance, right? Like in your anger, do not sin, right? That can apply to probably the full range of emotion. Like it's okay to be angry, but it's not okay to scream at your spouse and slam doors and throw things and those sorts of things.
Don't you think a lot of folks, especially, it seems like in the past few years, use a lot of mental health language
Yeah.
to not actually pursue mental health.
Right.
They're just excusing mental fragility.
I was
They're like,
triggered.
Based on my mental health, I can never talk to you again. Be like, hold on, I don't think you're healthy. Now, boundaries are one of the books that Rebecca had me read was called Boundaries. But they're doing walls, not boundaries. They don't
Right.
have gates. They just have walls.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's like, no, I'm going to live whatever life I want to live.
Mhm.
And I'm not going to face hard things. And I'm going to use mental health language to avoid all things. You don't have mental health.
Yeah.
You are very, very fragile.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that being emotionally mature is being able to recognize what you're feeling and make decisions that also make sense, that aren't based on the feelings, and not using how you feel as an excuse for bad behavior, for cutoff, which is what you're talking about, is just cutting people off instead of, finding a way to be healthy in a relationship.
It's interesting because along those lines, you also say focus in our mind means that we get still and direct our attention, thinking of who God is, His very nature and character. Joby, I've told you about like I struggle praying. Well, recently that is what I've been doing is like I don't know, in my mind I would always like start a prayer and it's like, all right, what am I praying about? What am I praying for? What am I thinking? And I just took the thinking out of it, and I just recently, like 2 weeks ago, starting it with, all right, God, I just want to feel you. I just want to be here with you.
Mm-hmm.
And then whatever happens from there, I'm good with.
Mm-hmm.
And it has made my prayer life so much like I'm borderline getting emotional even thinking about it. I've got chills because I struggle with this forever. And it's frustrating. It's very frustrating. It's like start a prayer and fall asleep, wake up and be like, well, I don't even know where I got to in the prayer. You know what I mean? Like I have no idea. But just recently this thought of just being very still.
Yeah, be still and know that I am God. Psalm 96.
And that's almost like enough. You know what I mean? Like just for me, just going, all right, as you said, I don't have this. All right, God, I just want to be with you. And then I just sit there, and it's just been it's been life changing.
Yeah, when you think of prayer less as an activity and more of a posture,
Yes.
you'll be there.
Yes.
Honestly, if you think about it relationally, it's better.
Mm-hmm.
Like with Gretchen, sometimes we have these long face-to-face, very deep, meaningful, awesome, on a beach somewhere conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Praise God for those. And then sometimes we have 8,000 texts a day that are just one-liners.
Mhm.
Like,
Yep.
hey, pick this up. You kind of need both of those in your relationship with the Lord.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
But really what we want is just we know each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, I mean, when Elon invents the thing that turns your thoughts into words,
Oh, Lord.
I was in the woods all morning working on my sermon for this weekend, for tomorrow, for Christmas Eve services, and praying.
Yeah.
I didn't say a lot of words. I almost always start with the Lord's Prayer because Jesus gave us like a good runway to kind of get the motor running, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of say the Lord's Prayer a little bit, and then I just kind of like, I wouldn't even know how to explain it. You know how when you're in a really good relationship, silence is not an enemy?
Yes.
Right.
You're real comfortable there. That's like when you're really grooving with the Lord. Like,
Man,
all right,
that's exactly what I'm saying.
abiding.
Yes.
And then I'll read Bible verses a lot, or I'll pray through Psalms a lot of times.
Yeah.
I'll just read them. Like the best way to make sure your prayer gets heard in heaven, start with the words that began in heaven. Just read through them.
Mhm.
Sometimes they'll be weird. Sometimes they'll be like, oh my gosh, that's it.
We could do this all day. It's crazy how fast this stuff goes by. But I don't want to like give your book away. I want people to buy it too. So
100%.
But I do want to talk to you about practical activities for a healthy mind.
Yeah.
If we can spend a minute to give people something to actually work on here.
Yeah.
Can you go through that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hope I hit all the ones in my book.
I can read them to you if you want me to real quick because I wrote them down.
Yeah.
Morning routine, journaling, connecting with others, and boundaries.
Yes.
So can you talk about those just briefly?
Okay. Yeah. A morning routine is one of the most important things for a healthy mind and probably a healthy soul as well. But in specifically talking about the mind, thinking about heart, soul, mind, and strength, if especially people that are in my office and are struggling with the mind, with distorted thinking, depression, anxiety, mood disorders, whatever, thinking about what you do first thing in the morning, things like moving your body. Remember, strength is also important for your mind. Honestly, moving your body is one of the most important things you can do for mental clarity and mental wellness. Then we talk about prayer. These are all like research, evidence-based things as well. Prayer, gratitude. We talk about Christian meditation, which is a form of prayer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Meditating on one verse or a couple words, a psalm, journaling.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that's really, really healthy. So figuring out that morning routine is really important. And then, basically all of the things you mentioned go into that morning routine. And then boundaries, we were just talking about those, but I think they're one of the most misunderstood things. I mean, those poor guys, Cloud and Townsend, that wrote Boundaries, I think their book is the most misquoted and misunderstood book out there, other than the Bible, maybe. It's sad, but good boundaries are important because, we have something worth protecting, right? Our heart, soul, mind, and strength that God has gifted us is to do his work in this world is worth protecting. And so just a snapshot of that is figuring out what needs to come in and what needs to stay out and having a flow in between, right? So think about social media, think about toxic people, think about what you watch on TV. All of those things we need to think about putting boundaries around. And again, boundaries don't mean walls, they mean gates, right? So we may have some toxic people in our life and they may not have full access to us. They may only have a little bit of access to us. But all of those things are really essential to having a healthy mind.
The way you define boundaries in the book, personal limits are rules that define how a person is willing to be treated by others and how they will treat themselves.
Yeah. And
The
how they
last
treat
part.
themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a good boundary for ourselves is I'm not going to talk down to myself. I'm not going to tell myself lies. I'm going to believe truth. And sometimes that's hard to do. And it takes some work to transform those thoughts into God's thoughts about us. But a lot of times we think of boundaries, with other people, but boundaries are actually for us. When we set a boundary, it's saying, this is what is acceptable for me. It's what I'm going to allow and what I'm not going to allow. Sometimes we say, don't say that to me. That's a boundary. Well, we can't tell other people what to do, but we can tell other people what we will accept and what we won't, what we'll stick around for and what we won't.
The journaling piece, I think there's a lot of guys that listen to this.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to hear journaling and be like, come on, I'm not going to journal, right? But I just told you in the last podcast, I didn't know that that's what I was doing. But there was a time in my life where I just got out a notebook and just started writing all the things and all the decisions that I had made,
Right.
and it helped me realize that I was the root cause of the majority of my issues, right? But it also just helped me get it out there.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And it was just like, I saw it on paper and I wrote it and I just said, oh, that's different than it was in my head.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I have not been a big journaler over my years.
I haven't done
either.
it since.
But I do think there's like really important times in our lives where sometimes we just need to get it out of here and onto paper so we can go, oh, we can think about it critically. It's like we're too close to it when it's in our brain.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we need to get it out in the paper and go, oh, that doesn't line up with what God says.
Right.
Like I've got some work to do in the way I'm thinking, the way I'm acting, the way I'm speaking. And I think that's however someone journals, like even if it's spotty, just do it.
Or even audible.
Totally.
I mean, honestly, like just record an audible. I mean, I do it weekly, basically, with writing sermons. You know what I mean? There's all this like processing of
Kind of what I'm doing on here.
100%. You know,
Honestly, yeah.
It's crazy sometimes, especially when people have destructive behaviors in their life.
Yeah.
I will say to me out loud what you're doing, and it's amazing how, because they'll be like, well, all I'm doing is having a little bit of fun with my friends. No. Tell me exactly what you're doing. So you leave the house where your wife and your children are, and you're going to go drink 19 Mick Ultras with some guys that would leave you in a ditch. Like, say the words. What time did you, this? And as they're saying it, they're like, yeah, that sounds dumb, especially guys that struggle with pornography. Like, say it out loud.
Yeah.
So the wife that you love and are committed to and the mother of your children is asleep in that room. Now tell me what you're doing in this room. Say it out loud. And they're like, because I've had people try to explain to me it's going to be a benefit for their marriage. Because they'll get in their mind, they're like, well, it's not actually a you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, see, you've only thought this. You've never said this.
Right.
You're leaving your real wife for the picture of probably an abused girl.
Yeah.
Say it out loud. And they're like, oh my God. I'm like, right. There's a version of that there, getting out of your mind. Because then it's almost like, it reminds me of those like futuristic movies where they put the diagram up there, but it's 3D and they can move it around. That's kind of what you need to do with some of your ideas sometimes. You can kind of like look at it from different angles. Like, oh my gosh.
Yep.
Yeah.
I had that
That's
happen this
crazy.
morning. I won't say the name of the person, but it was a college coach called me and was telling me what they're thinking about in their quarterback room, and I'm listening to him. I was like, I need you to say that again because that's the dumbest thing. The way I heard it, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Oh, yeah.
And he did. He said it again. He was like, oh.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, I'll call you back.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think universal.
That's what journaling is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not
When you think about it
necessarily
that way.
Yeah.
good handwriting and fancy pen.
There are a lot of ways to journal. And honestly, like you could journal your prayers because sometimes it would keep you on track. If you know there are things you want to pray about, journal them. Just write, Dear Lord, and, write them down. There's a ton of ways to journal.
That's actually a fantastic. I wish I'd have been doing that all along to go back and be able to see the things that God has actually answered.
Yeah.
And the things that he hasn't, that I'm glad he
Faith
didn't.
strengthening. Yeah.
That's a great idea.
So journal your prayers and then sit there in silence and see if he says anything to you. And if he does, write it down.
We should start a Built for More app that does that.
And then one other hack is that when the enemy tries to distract you with the things, you know what I mean? Like, because you're trying to like be about God, and then you're thinking about your schedule. Well, then keep a separate sheet of paper and make a to-do list. And what the enemy intended for evil, you can be like, now I know what I'm doing today. Because as soon as you write that thing down too, you don't have to worry about it anymore. Like, oh, I got to go by the store and I got to,
Yeah.
Well, that's also a great point because I found a little cheat code for myself. I think I'm very highly ADD. I know that's shocking to both of you. And I used to not be able to do anything because my mind would just go, music.
Yes.
Music changed
Absolutely.
everything. If I'm not in here or I'm not talking to somebody, I have music on all the time. Recently, more praise and worship, which is really weird for me because there was a time it's like, I'm not listening to that stuff.
Also,
I love it.
save certain music for certain times.
Yes.
Because there's like this Pavlovian effect, okay? So there's a couple of albums I have. Actually, one of the albums that I listen to now is AI generated. It's called Psalms and the Blues. And it's blues, but it's the Psalms. And so when I turn it on, my brain's like, we're writing a sermon, because that's what this music means. And it's amazing how if I sit in the same areas, I got a couple of spots, and you know how it is. You know, you got like your pregame
100%,
routine.
yes.
So whatever the thing is.
I listened to the same playlist when I was writing my book every time.
Yeah.
I would sit in the same spot. I would light the same candle, and I would play the same music.
Yep, I do. I did the same thing. I've got a playlist that I listen to every morning, first thing in the shower. Like I'm in the shower. If Angie's asleep, whatever. Like y'all are getting woken up because this thing is playing. And then I also have a playlist of when I'm like super stressful.
Oh.
Like a really, just to kind of like, and it's that playlist is full of just like songs that take me to gratitude.
Yeah.
To where it's like one of those things where, okay, I'm not going to stress about this because I have this, and this.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not my identity. So for me, music was a huge game changer for me to be able to do a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, stress and gratitude.
You talk about that in your book too.
Yeah.
You talk a lot about that in your book.
Absolutely. And gratitude is one of the most powerful
Correct.
exercises that you can practice on a daily basis. That's another good journaling prompt. 3 things every day, first thing in the morning, you're grateful for. That's a simple way to journal. But the research around gratitude there's so much about how good it is.
Yeah, stress and gratitude have a really hard time coexisting.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's super interesting. But see, that's that. Like, I wish I'd have known all this. I probably didn't. I wish I'd have done all this 10 years ago, 20 years ago. That's the thing I'm talking about. Like, that's what I want out of this podcast. So I just want one person to hear this. Go, yeah, I'm going to give this a try. Like, let me just see what happens.
I hope lots of people hear it and give it a try.
They do.
Honestly. I'm thrilled to be talking to 2 men about mental health.
Yeah. Well, we need to do this a lot. I would do this as much as you wanted to. I love this. Absolutely.
I love it.
This.
I would love to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Joby just wants to talk to football players.
I don't only want to talk about players, but I do.
That's
like
right. You mix in a
players.
baseball player.
Yeah. And a UFC fighter.
Yeah, he was so. I wish you'd have seen him that day that
Oh my gosh.
Vitor Belfort.
Vitor
I haven't
Belfort was
watched
in
that
here.
one yet.
Oh, I don't know that I've ever seen him that happy.
Kid in a candy store.
Oh yeah,
Dude, he's a legend.
yeah, absolutely is. Well, Rebecca, thank you so much.
Yeah, it's great to be here with you guys.
And make sure if you're listening and you haven't picked up the book Jesus and Your Mental Health, then please go pick that up. Rebecca Maxwell, Jacksonville Counseling Center. Is that what it is? All
Yeah.
right. Jacksonville Counseling Services.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, my bad, not center. Services. All right. You got anything else? Or you good?
That's it. You know what? I didn't even know you were on today until today.
Oh.
And
Great. Surprise.
when did I text you? This morning? Yesterday?
Yesterday.
Yesterday.
Oh, really?
I just felt this sense of God today, and I seriously, I just texted her some encouragement for all the ministry she's doing and the impact she's making.
Well,
I'm trying to get better at, I have all these thoughts, these like gratitude for people thoughts, and I rarely do anything with them, and I'm trying to get better. I mean, where did that come from? Well, even if I made it up, that's not a bad thought. It's still a God-glorifying thought. It ain't coming from the devil, and it's not coming from the world.
Yeah.
But if the Spirit of God is like, just for whatever reason, somebody pops in my head and to encourage, then I'm trying to get better at doing that. So it's neat to see you today.
Yeah.
Well, God wanted Rebecca here because we just talked about this, Thursday night?
We did.
At church?
Yep,
Oh,
Thursday
good.
night.
Yeah, Thursday night at church. And I was like trying to find, because our schedule's a little wonky right now. It's like, oh, when can we get her? And then we had a cancellation,
Oh, yeah.
like yesterday.
Yeah.
So it was perfect. Perfect. So thank you so much. Yes, it did. Built for More, at Built for More Pod, Denny Thompson, Pastor Joby Martin. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe, keep telling your friends. Thank you a ton. We love you. We'll talk to you soon.